What is it that you can learn and grow and develop through right now in the middle of this pandemic so that you can align your passion, yourself, your skills with the opportunities of the moment and the opportunities of the future? And as long as you always have passion, opportunity, you will find success and fulfillment.
Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of the FoodGrads podcast. Today on the show, we have Joe Baker, OTEC's Systems, Leadership, and Integrated Strategy Advisor. OTEC, or the Ontario Tourism Education Corporation, is an Ontario-based collaborative, not-for-profit organization that is a leader in workforce innovation and skills development solutions. In this episode, we learn about what OTEC is and the role that they're playing in helping Canadians navigate through the uncertain times of the restaurant industry during COVID, specifically through OTEC's Tourism and Hospitality Emergency Rapid Response Initiative. Joe and I also talk about COVID's evolving role in changing the landscape of the restaurant and hospitality industry, and how through these difficult times comes the chance for a positive change to create a more inclusive, resilient workforce. I'm happy to have had the chance to speak with Joe. Joe is an eloquent speaker, and you can tell he's really passionate about what he does. I left this conversation feeling more hopeful about the future, despite the uncertainty of things. As Joe explains it, in this episode, there are things that you can do right now which can help you on your career journey. The first step is just to take a step back, breathe, and reflect. So, I hope you enjoy the show. Thank you so much, Joe, for agreeing to come on the podcast. We're really excited to have the first guest kind of representing the hospitality and tourism side. So this is going to be a great conversation.
Well, absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm excited to share and to learn a little bit more about what you guys are doing.
Okay, so let's just get right into it. And could you first tell us exactly what OTEC is and what your role is in the organization?
Absolutely. So OTEC, as we call it, is Ontario's tourism industry workforce development organization. And what that really means is we connect people with resources, tools, and training and opportunities from across this province to enter and advance their careers in the tourism industry. And my role specifically is to work with the senior team at OTEC and all of the strategic partners who have come together to launch what we are calling the Tourism and Hospitality Emergency Response Initiative as a direct result of the pandemic that we are all experiencing.
So this type of plan that you're speaking of, I'm guessing because it's a rapid response, was there a lot of framework prior to COVID with this type of program, or was this something that your company had to do really last minute?
Yeah, great question. So before the pandemic, many people who worked in the workforce development side of the industry, or even the industry itself, were experiencing and talking a lot about the labor shortage that the tourism industry was facing. So prior to the pandemic, there were lots of jobs across the country in the tourism industry that were unfilled and didn't have skilled workers in them, which is an interesting way to enter a pandemic. So the rapid response that OTEC put together with Future Skills Center, including many of our strategic partners, attempted to create a digital space that had resources, assessments, training, and ultimately a connection to the job market for people, very specifically the workers of this industry who had been affected by the pandemic.
A program like this, so being an online resource, I'm not too familiar in regards to, I know when I think of the hospitality industry, and I think a lot of chefs and cooks and such, that the skills that they need are to be, on how to prepare foods or how to create a catering menu, or skills more geared towards like the technical side, I guess you could say. Does this program include skills in teaching how to do things that are not on the technical side?
Right, absolutely. So the technical skills are really important for career success, but there are also a lot of different complementary skills that are important. These days, we spend a lot of time talking about the emotional and social skills that are required. People used to refer to them as the soft skills. And when you're experiencing a pandemic the way we are experiencing a pandemic right now, you actually find that what people mostly need is resilience. They need adaptability. They need to understand themselves and understand the skills that they have enough to pivot their careers if they need to, based on the job market that's happening around us right now. And so that's why when we've put together this platform, it includes assessments so you can learn a little bit about yourself. What is it that you're good at right now? Where are there some gaps? What training can you take that complements those technical skills? And then ultimately, where are the jobs that map against the skills and competencies that you can demonstrate that you gained from your career and your experience in the hospitality and tourism industry? And that ultimately is the future of the workforce across Canada and around the world. Mapping and understanding skills and competencies of workers, and mapping and understanding skills and competencies required from employers to make sure that we have a very strong and very resilient workforce.
That's an interesting take on thinking about the future of this industry because that's something that at least I feel a long-term career or in a job in a place, it can be difficult to assess where you are, especially in an industry like the hospitality industry, where from my understanding, a lot of places you don't really focus on those types of skills, and to assess yourself is very difficult. And knowing where to even look on how to assessment. I mean, for the most part, I would think if I was in that position, I would just Google something online. So to hear that OTEC is doing something like this is a really good position and a place that I think that a lot of people can come to, and it would be really beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's most important to remember is that the only person who is responsible for your career success is you. And the best thing you can do for yourself is understand what it is that you're good at, where there are some opportunities for you to learn and grow, and to pursue that learning and that growth yourself. We talk a lot about a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. So if you walk through the career world and you say, I'm good at this. This is what I'm good at. I can't get better at the things that I'm not good at, but this is what I focus on. Then you are destined to continue along a very linear career path. But if you approach it a bit more with a growth mindset, saying, okay, this is what I'm good at right now, but what are the things that I can do? What are the programs I can take? Who are the people I can connect with to learn components about myself, components about the skills that are required to be successful in a different segment of the industry, and add those on top of the things that I'm already good at to continue to grow. And so I think that's really, really important right now is for people, especially workers who are trying to pursue careers, whether you're young and new in this industry or whether you've been affected by the pandemic, to maintain a growth mindset. Think about what it is that you can do right now to understand about yourself, to upgrade those skills and competencies, and to pivot your career and your life.
Let's just say, as a young person, I've been affected by the pandemic, and I'm kind of in a spot where I'm not quite sure. I've heard about your service, and I'm finding it really interesting, and I want to do these assessments, and I want to learn how I can identify my strengths and my weaknesses. How would I go about working with your company?
Great idea. And so, first of all, this is not just about my company. This is not just a corporate sales pitch. This is about providing a digital space for the workers of the hospitality and tourism industry to access those resources, those assessments, those training opportunities, and ultimately employment opportunities. This is about creating that digital space, that digital platform for tourism and hospitality workers, first across the province of Ontario, and then potentially across the entire country. So everybody should visit tourismhospitialityworkers.ca. It is a digital hub. It's full of resources. And most importantly, we are seeking worker feedback to shape some of the tools and resources that will be available into the future as we continue through and out the other end of this pandemic towards the future of work, ultimately.
That's great to know that there's something that's so easily accessible, because I know personally I'm going to be referring this over to my father actually, because he's actually a cook. His job was lost during this pandemic because he worked at a pizzeria, and because of the pandemic, the owners had decided to hire within their own families, which is totally understandable. But that kind of left my dad in an interesting position, because that's his skills. That's what he's been doing for years and years, that he's been a cook. So trying to find a lot of these positions have been a little difficult. And with a lot of individuals who are, if I'm not mistaken, in like the arts field and the film, I know some of them do move towards hospitality for their jobs. So the competition has increased more, not only because of that, but because a lot of the jobs are just not there because people aren't going out as much. So I'm definitely going to be relaying him, pardon me, over to the website.
Yeah, and first of all, I'm sorry for what your father is experiencing, but this pandemic has certainly affected people of all ages and backgrounds, and it really is a reminder for all of us that we need to continue to grow and to develop ourselves. And I'm sure there are lots of skills that your father has gained working in that pizzeria that are applicable to other career paths, or certainly other opportunities in the hospitality and tourism industry. And now is just a great time for him to familiarize himself with what he's great at, and pursue some opportunities for some training and development to upgrade some other pieces of his professional portfolio so that he can ultimately continue to thrive in this industry.
That's a great opportunity, because it's something that he has have difficulty to even think that his skills could be applied to other areas. I don't think that that's something he's really considered about, because he's done cooking for a very long time. So to hear that he actually has skills that will likely be able to be translated to somewhere else.
Absolutely. And I often say that the tourism industry is Ontario's largest classroom. And all we need to do is be able to learn about and talk about the skills, competencies, strengths that are gained from working in the tourism industry. And when you're able to identify them and understand what it is that you're good at and where your background can be applied to other fields, then you start to understand the potential of what you've already learned and what you've already gained through your experience, and how you can continue to stack that up against those training opportunities, those learning and development opportunities, and continue to pursue a thriving career. This is not the end. It's just a roadblock for so many people. And if you choose to, you can see this as an incredible opportunity to learn more about yourself, upgrade your skills, and carry on with the rest of your career and your life.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Before, you touched upon the idea of having a growth mindset. Aside from the growth aspect, people are very scared, to be honest, about the industry going away or closing down. What do you think the future of these industries is going to look like within, let's say, the next 5 years? And is there hope, or is there some kind of encouragement that people who are already thinking about pursuing this career should continue to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, quite frankly, I don't think there are very many people out there who can predict what the future of anything is going to look like. We don't know the conditions of the world. We don't understand yet the impact of the pandemic and the changes in the industry that we've experienced. We don't know how that's going to play out in the long run. But what we do know is that this presents an incredible opportunity for us all to pause and reflect on what's happening around us and ground ourselves in our own strengths and our own skills, and learn the new skills that we need to learn to pivot our career. I would imagine we are going to see the business model of the food service hospitality industry completely change. And I hope that what comes with that change is some broad impact on the culture of workplaces within the hospitality and tourism industry, because I really believe that people have always been at the center of our industry. And if we can create people-centered cultures within our organizations, we can talk about things like empathy and development and growth, then all of those will be translated to our guest experience and to our business value propositions. And I think that ultimately what that means is this is an incredible opportunity for us to revisit the modern hospitality, tourism, food service, workplace, and business to refocus on creating positive, inclusive cultures for our workers to directly impact the guests that we serve. What does that mean? What have we seen during this pandemic? We have seen the best of the service workers, those who are putting on face masks and going to restaurants and grocery stores and healthcare situations to help people in very challenging times. And we've seen the worst because what people are experiencing right now is uncertain and it's unprecedented, and there's a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety. And that has caused a wrinkle in the experience that we've been able to provide our guests and our clients. And it's just a moment in time to reflect on what is it that we do? Are there ways that we can grow and improve in our business? Are there ways that we can pivot our business models to prepare for the future? And ultimately, at the end of the day, get back to what's really important to us in the hospitality and tourism industry. And that to me is one service encounter at a time, and ultimately creating a positive and lasting impression on the guests and clients we serve. And if you aren't in a front facing position, you should know that your work is contributing to those experiences.
Wow. That is such an interesting take on how to look at the uncertainty. It feels like instead of this being, it is a scary time, but at the same time, through these scary times, there can be big changes because things are moving fast, so that can encourage things to move faster. But if we reflect on what we're doing prior to these changes, or during these changes, I should say, something really good can come out of that. And it sounds like with the hospitality industry, there is that chance for change in a positive direction that could have never been seen before, like now.
Absolutely. And it's not too much to say that we are in the middle of a moment of history, right? There are very significant moments in history, especially in the lifespan of what we experience as people, where we say there was life before this event, incident, cultural shift, and then there's life after this event, incident, and cultural shift. Right now, we are in the middle of a moment in history. And I don't think that it's too much to say that it's okay to stop and to catch our breaths as individuals, as organizations, as an industry, quite frankly, as a society, as a culture, and reflect on where we are now and where we want to be in the future, and to really put some critical pieces in place to ensure that we are working towards a better future, a different future than the one that we're experiencing right now. And I don't mean to get too philosophical on that. I just mean, what is it that you want in your life and career 5 years from now that you don't have right now? And what can you do yourself to learn, to grow, to develop, to network, to advance yourself so that you can contribute more, so that you can put that purpose into your career and ultimately towards a fulfilling life that comes from a really fulfilling career? It's difficult. There's a lot happening around us right now. There's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of fear, and there's a lot of anxiety. But it's always okay to stop, step back, take a deep breath, be reflective about what's happening around you, and figure out what it is that you can do yourself to contribute to a better future for you, your family, the people around you, and within your organizations and your industry.
I know for me personally, think about it a lot, how I feel I am a part of this monumental time that we're living in that has affected every single person almost, I would think, in this entire world, because I've never come across something that's so globally to every single country is affected in some way. So to think that I'm a part of it is a very strange thing, because it's never something I'd ever consider would have happened to me. And during this time, especially near the beginning when the lockdowns were happening here in Ontario, I just stopped. I started to think about my future and what do I actually appreciate and what is important to me. And it's through these thoughts that I've able to better, well, I know there's still uncertainty, but I've able to solidify a little bit more about what's important to me that I know I never actually just sat and thought about. So there's a silver lining coming out of this in, I think, a positive way for a lot of people is it has given people time to think. And I think that is important.
Yeah, absolutely. Really well said. I can relate. I myself have experienced a career transition during this pandemic. I started my career in the restaurant business and I transitioned into education because what I learned that I loved most about my work was actually developing and helping people realize the potential within themselves, but also coaching and mentoring and providing training opportunities so that they could advance their careers. And when I was in the restaurant industry and I knew that this is what I wanted to do, I actually had the ability to network and to develop relationships and transition to work into the education sector. I spent 8 incredible years working at George Brown College's Center for Hospitality and Culinary Arts. And then I spent 6 incredible years working at Centennial College's School of Hospitality, Tourism, and Culinary Arts. And when this pandemic hit, having spent lots of time building relationships and networking with organizations such as OTEC and Tourism HR Canada and the Tourism Industry Association of Ontario, I felt a strong drive to contribute more. And the way that I believed I could contribute more was to work in a new space. I myself wanted to learn about the workforce development industry. Lots of people think that the talent pipeline of the hospitality and tourism industry comes from colleges and universities. And yes, of course, there are lots of people who graduate college and university and work in the hospitality and tourism sector. But there's also another incredibly important pillar of the talent pipeline in the hospitality and tourism industry, and that's workforce development. And that's now what I do. And I have the ability to contribute to the advancement of people's careers in the hospitality and tourism sector across this province through this incredible partnership and this incredible tourism and hospitality emergency response initiative that OTEC has built with the Future Skills Center and Tourism HR Canada and Tourism Industry Association of Ontario and the Ontario Restaurant Hotel Motel Association and the Hospitality Workers Training Center here in Toronto. This is an incredible network of industry and organizations and associations coming together to create a space for the workers of this industry to work their way through this pandemic, get back on their feet, and to create the sustainable, resilient workforce. Because we know that a healthy workforce contributes to a healthy business, and a healthy tourism industry has a lot of incredible impacts for this country, for this province, for this world. And so that's the opportunity that comes in a very challenging time, is it gives us the ability to reevaluate what's important to our lives, to understand the strengths and the skills that we have within ourselves, and to learn to apply them in completely new opportunities to contribute more.
It sounds like you have a pretty awesome career that you're pursuing right now. And I think a lot of people are going to feel appreciative, and it's encouraging to hear that there's people on the other end that are looking out for them. They're not alone, that there's resources that are out there if they're just made aware of it. So to have someone out there being such a strong advocate in an organization such as yours, that is encouraging. And I think that's what more people need to hear right now, is that they're not alone, even though it might feel like they are.
Absolutely. And hope is really, really important right now. You need to hope for better days for yourself, for your business, for your industry, for the rest of the world. And then you need to put pieces in place that turn that hope into a strategy. And that's learning about yourself. That's learning about the opportunities that this pandemic has presented. That's getting access to training, development, other resources, networking, and strengthening yourself and your own personal capacity to contribute.
And it sounds like that, going back to something that you said a little bit earlier, I just wanted to touch upon, because we've talked about how that this is a great opportunity for change to create a better, more strong, people-centered going back to the roots of what hospitality and service industries are for. And you really seem like you're a strong advocate for having a good mental well-being working in this industry. And I just wanted to know, with these changes, what do you think a good working environment looks like? And what do you suggest that workers and owners can do that could encourage this type of environment moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I am a strong advocate for mental health in the workplace because at the end of the day, the people who you work with bring all of themselves to a job. And I think that it's really important to reflect on that right now. What people are bringing to the workplace includes all of those anxieties and challenges that people are facing because of this pandemic. But it didn't mean that all of those challenges weren't there before the pandemic. It just meant that this has given us an opportunity to reflect on the fact that we work with people of all different backgrounds who are all having completely different experiences in their lives. And I think that what I say often to employers is take a moment to intentionally think about the culture you are creating within your organization. If you can integrate principles of inclusion, principles of empathy, patience, understanding into your workplace, then you have the ability to get the best out of your people because people give their best when they feel respected, when they feel included, and when they know that they're coming to work and it's a safe place for them to just be human. And they will transpose that incredible patience and understanding and support onto their guests or onto their clients or onto whatever aspect of your business they're working in. I truly believe that positive mental health in the workplace is really good for business. We need a strong and robust hospitality and tourism industry so that we can have a strong and robust hospitality workforce. We say, certainly before the pandemic, there are nearly 2 million Canadians working in the tourism industry. Think about the impact of the lives that the tourism industry has, both on our guests and on our clients, but also on the people who work in this industry. And it's not too much to say that we can also, during this pandemic, pause, reflect critically on the employment culture that we are creating, and integrate principles of empathy and inclusion and respect and positivity into our workplaces to make a really significant contribution to the lives of the people who choose this industry to work in and the lives of the guests who use our industry as a break from their lives to get food, to get rest, to have an experience. And ultimately, those guest experiences, those client experiences, and every single aspect of your business will be positively impacted if you create a culture that intentionally fosters positive mental health.
I love that. I know from personal experiences that I've had, having a workplace where I feel respected, trusted, even though it could feel like a personal thing, come to work, do my job, when I felt that my workplace was somewhere that was positive, it felt like somewhere that I didn't want to just benefit myself. I wanted to benefit the company. I liked that. I wanted to relay that on. Having those types of environments, why wouldn't we want to strive for something like that when it sounds like from a business side, it's positive, but also from a staffing side, it's positive? It just seems all around, why wouldn't we want a goal for something like that?
Yes, absolutely. And for the first time in our history around the world, there are now 5 generations in the workplace. 5 different groups of people identified through, their birth dates and what they experienced in their lives. Different cultures coming into that place. There is no generation that doesn't thrive best when they feel respected, when their perspectives are considered, when there is a safe place for them to express their opinions, to share their ideas, and to shape the business that they're experiencing. But once again, all it requires is for us to pause and reflect and not react to what's happening in front of us as if there's a problem, and to just be critical about what's happening around you. And I'm not saying that organizations need to get really advanced when it comes to these kinds of things. I'm just saying that there's a human piece involved in being a worker or a manager, a new person in this industry, or somebody who's been here for a really long time, and that people are at their best and will give their best when they feel like they are truly heard and understood and are contributing to something bigger than themselves. And that can be fostered in every single hospitality and tourism business across this province and across this country.
Wow. So I'm just going to bring it back to more so the present time. And for people who are at home right now or having difficulties finding a job, what would you say they should be doing right now to be trying to get back into the sector?
Yes, great. So for anybody who's been affected by the pandemic, just understand this. It's okay to pursue a job that isn't the ideal and perfect job for you along your career path. It's okay to have two parallel strategies working in your life right now. If you need a job to pay the bills, to put food on your table, and to get you out into the workplace, there are employment opportunities out there. While they may not be ideal and they may not be aligned with your career path, take the short-term opportunity to get back on your feet and to get back out there. And at the same time, look to organizations like OTEC and the Future Skills Center and all of these things that are happening around you to re-engage with this industry and to learn about yourself and to learn about opportunities, because this is not the end. It's just a moment in time, and we're all trying to fight our way through it. So it's okay to pursue employment opportunities that may not be ideal right now, and then to continue your career in the hospitality industry. Do not give up. Do not be discouraged. We will get through this. We will get through this together. And there are a lot of people in this industry right now rallying and putting pieces in place so that we can protect the talent pipeline of our industry, and so that we can protect people who have chosen hospitality and tourism as their career.
That's good advice. I think that people need to hear that sometimes it's just, like we said, take a break. It's okay to pursue something temporarily. It's just a moment in time. And when you look back on it, you'll see why you had to do it. But as long as you continue to put some pieces in place that do add to where you're trying to go with your career, it's okay to just take a break.
Absolutely. And it's okay also not to be okay. And there are lots of resources out there. And certainly they're on our platform on the tourismhospitalityworkers.ca, resources to learn about supports that you may need in your life. Their financial supports, maybe their housing supports, maybe their childcare supports, maybe their mental health supports. It's okay to be struggling right now. You don't have to be perfect, and you don't have to be unaffected by what's happening around you. And that's the whole concept here of wrapping our arms around the tourism and hospitality industry. We will give you the systems, the structures, the processes to re-engage in the workforce, but we will also make sure that you have access to the key supports you need to balance and maintain your life and get through it. And above all else, as I said, it's okay to not be okay, but just know you're not alone. So many people are experiencing the same thing that you're experiencing. And all we can really do is pull together and work step by step, day by day, moment by moment towards that brighter future. It will get better.
I'm so happy that there's a resource out there that I'll be able to share, even in the show links for this podcast, that is more than just about how to find a job or how can I help with a career. That there's the other things like the well-being and in the monetary side, because that discussion about being able to pay your bills right now, I think that sometimes gets overlooked right now. That being mentally well in those other aspects of your life impact how you do in your career. So you have to take care of those things first before you can even pursue that. And with that, we're coming close near the end. So I just wanted to bring up two more questions that are more general, maybe not to the COVID side right now, but I wanted to ask you, in your opinion, why is the hospitality and tourism a great place to work?
So, hospitality and tourism is a great place to work if what you're looking to do is contribute towards amplifying the experiences of others. Again, it's not too much to say that working in a service industry or contributing as part of a role within the service industry helps you get a sense that you're contributing to something bigger than yourself. The hospitality and tourism industry is full of opportunities. You can work anywhere at any time around the province, around the country, around the world, as long as you understand that at the core of the hospitality industry, it's all about creating memorable experiences for guests, for clients, for people around you. And if you understand that working in the hospitality industry means contributing to those service experiences, means contributing to amplifying other people around you, then you will always have a deep sense of purpose. And that deep sense of purpose can really help you create and find thriving career opportunities.
That's the great thing about food is that everyone needs to eat. And I know hearing something so passionate from someone who knows the industry so well, as someone who sits on the other side when I go into a restaurant, I know for me personally, being in a restaurant and with my parents is one of the best memories that I have with them. I a lot of my fondest times, I think about going weekly to, actually like a local pub with my parents. I love doing that with them. And to put into perspective that a person working here, there's something more beyond them than just doing their job, but they're creating these positive, happy experiences for others. I think that's a great way to think of your job. That's something that I think a lot of people would want to be a part of.
Absolutely.
So, with that, the last question I'm going to ask you is what advice would you give to someone wanting to pursue a career in the hospitality and tourism industry?
Yes, great question. And I get this question a lot, and I have a lot of opportunities to connect with people who are trying to pursue careers in this industry. There's advice out there, and certainly we've heard this no matter what industry you're looking at and no matter where you're coming from, that what people should do is understand what they're passionate about and pursue careers in that passion space. Passion is really important, but it also has a key counterpart. And that key counterpart is opportunity. Identify what you're passionate about and find or create opportunities for you to leverage that passion into a successful and fulfilling career. And that underpins everything we've talked about today. What is it that you love about your job? What is it that you can learn and grow and develop through right now in the middle of this pandemic so that you can align your passion, yourself, your skills with the opportunities of the moment and the opportunities of the future. And as long as you always have passion, opportunity, you will find success and fulfillment.
And that's where I'm going to end it. That is passion is the important thing that you need to have in order to move forward in your career because if you're not passionate, it's kind of hard to know what you need or you want to do. So, thank you so much, Joe, for coming on the show. I think this was a great conversation and I learned so much. And hearing you talk, I can very much tell that you are passionate about what you do and you're passionate about getting people to where they want to get better in their careers and be happy with where they are. Where can our listeners find you and if they want to find out more about OTEC?
So first of all, on social media, you can always find me at the Joe Baker everywhere. And the best way to connect with everything that's happening in OTEC and everything that's happening in this tourism and hospitality emergency response is through our website, tourismhospitalityworkers.ca.
That's great. So thank you so much for being on the show and Again, thank you.
Thank you.
And that was episode 2 of the FoodGrads podcast. You can find my detailed show notes on the FoodGrads website by simply clicking the podcast tab on the FoodGrads homepage. On next week's episode, we have Sean Shah, the Manager of Operations and Quality at Clear Ocean Seafood Limited. Clear Ocean Seafood is located in Vancouver, BC, and is an importer, wholesaler, and custom packer of frozen seafood products, including scallops. In this episode, we talk about the processing of frozen scallops, Sean's role there, and his surprising advice on what he would give someone wanting to pursue a career similar to his. So, make sure to check it out. Thank you everyone so much for listening. I'll see you next week.